Could you please state your name?
Michael Humphrey,
And where are you currently incarcerated?
Montgomery County Jail,
And why are you incarcerated there?
for the charges of murder.
For your involvement
Sure,
in this conspiracy?
correct.
Now, I want to ask you some questions, Mr. Humphrey. First of all, do you know Lindley Rennick?
Yes,
Do you see her here in court today?
yes.
Could you indicate where she's at? And you're pointing in a general direction. Can you give us a description of? There's three women over there.
Second person in from the far side.
Okay.
That work?
There's three women. Which one is she?
The one in the middle, how about that?
Your Honor.
Thank you.
Identification's been stipulated,
Mr. Humphrey, how is it you know Lindley Rennick?
We actually had dated back in the 2007 area, something like that.
How long were the two of you boyfriend, girlfriend?
On and off for a few years.
And so if on and off for a couple, 2 years, it would have been over around 2010?
I'd say that's probably pretty close, yeah.
And I'm not asking exact, but 2010, 2011 is the latest.
Right.
Did you have any contact with her other than until the events of what you're here to talk about today?
No.
And those events started in late May or June of 2017, correct?
Correct.
So you had no contact with her in person, phone, texting, of any sort?
Correct.
Back when you had this relationship with her, did you ever have an occasion to shoot firearms with her?
Yeah, we had been out to the gun range a few different times.
A few different times?
Yep.
Okay, and what gun did you guys shoot when you were out there?
I had a Springfield Armory 40 caliber XD series.
And did you fire that when the two of you were together?
Yeah.
And did she fire that?
Yeah.
She's I look over, she's kind of a little bitty thing. I don't mean that mean, but she's a small girl, right?
Right.
She have any trouble handling that weapon?
No.
Now, let's fast forward to October 29th of this year.
Okay.
You agreed to cooperate in this case a month and a half ago, correct?
Correct.
And as a result of that cooperation, you know you're going to go to prison on the charge of second-degree murder.
Correct.
And you know you're going to get a life sentence.
Correct.
And the charge of armed criminal action is going to get dismissed against you.
Right.
And for that, you agreed to tell us where the gun was at?
Correct.
And you agreed to tell the jury what you say happened?
Correct.
Now, prior to getting involved in these events, did you have a criminal record?
I had one 2012, I believe it was, on case finished up 2015. I was put on probation, yes.
For what type of offense?
Drug-related offense.
And what was the drug involved there?
Heroin.
And what was it, a possession charge?
Yeah.
And so you were on probation for that?
Correct.
Now, do you remember the date that Ben was murdered? The date.
June 8th, 2017.
Prior to that date, you'd mentioned you hadn't had any contact with Lindley. Prior to that date, did you again have contact with her?
Yes, in the prior two weeks leading up to that, roughly 2 weeks, whatever it was.
That's what I was going to ask you. You don't know what date it was you initially saw her again, do you?
No, I don't.
But if you're approximating, you're saying about 2 weeks prior to that?
Right.
And were you expecting to see her or had some forewarning that you're going to see her?
No.
Okay. And where did you see her at?
She showed up at my driveway.
And was she there with was she alone?
No, she had a girl named Ashley with her.
Had you ever met that girl before?
No.
And do you know that girl's full name now?
I do, Ashley Shaw, yeah.
Now, when they got there, what was your reaction to seeing this girlfriend of yours for the first time in 6-7 years?
Definitely caught off guard, yep.
I'm sorry?
Definitely caught off guard.
I assume you're kind of surprised?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you saw her, tell us what happened, what interaction the three of you had at that point in time.
Initially, she just kind of came up and started casually talking about her friend wanting some audio equipment done. And then after that, she asked if we could go inside and talk. At that point, she brought up that...
well, let me stop you there, okay? Where were you at when you first saw her?
In my car in the driveway.
So you're outside in the car?
Right.
And Do both of them come up and talk to you about this, or are they separated? So
No, her friend stayed back in the car.
So this initial conversation about her friend needing audio equipment is just you and Lindley.
Right.
And after kind of, hey, it's good to see you, whatever, this little bit of conversation, you said you went inside to your house, correct?
Correct.
And who all went inside?
All three of us.
And when you got inside, can you again now tell us what kind of transpired in terms of the conversation between you and Lindley?
They had told me that they had tried to give him a shake that had pills in it, and she also said that she was...
well, let me stop you there. I'm not trying to be difficult, but you said they. Were both of them speaking at this point in time? Or is that just kind of the way we talk?
I'm just grouping them because they're there together.
Yeah. Who is doing the talking?
Lindley.
And from the two of them, when they're talking about this situation with them, who is leading the conversation?
Lindley.
And so when you say they, it's just sort of how we talk, correct?
Right.
But to be accurate, it was Lindley.
Correct.
So she tells you they had done what I just did it myself.
Yeah.
Lindley tells you what had she just done or recently done to her husband?
About the shake? You're talking
Yes.
about, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing part of it. About the shake with the pills in it. And that they were trying to find somebody to shoot him.
And when you heard this from your girlfriend after all these years, what was your reaction?
Initially, I thought she was just exaggerating some,
Did you respond?
I told them that was crazy. That was,
Did at some point during this conversation, did Lindley ever explain to you or give you a reason why she tried to kill her husband and why she was now seeking out somebody to shoot him?
She said that there was different physical and sexual abuse going on, like raping and,
Did she go into detail with you?
A little bit, yeah.
What did she tell you?
One thing was that he had climbed on top of her and forced himself on her in the middle of the night. Another one was that she had woke up to fingers. I don't know how you guys want to.
And I know it's unpleasant. We don't know, but go ahead and use her exact words if you remember.
To her being fingered, and she was trying to say no to it.
Did she describe any other physical or emotional abuse during this conversation? Or
just that they would have different fights around the kids that would kind of turn physical-ish. I mean, push, shove, kind of.
And as a result of being there, did they say not that we're not only looking for somebody to shoot him, but did they ask something specific of you?
Not at that time. They just was generalizing that they wanted to try to find somebody to shoot him.
And did you give him any advice with respect to that?
I told him I was not going to be a part of that.
And did the conversation about killing Ben end after you told them that?
We basically small chatted after that, yeah.
Well, the conversation about the conspiracy to kill, but you kept the chit chat.
Right.
Kind of catching up on old times.
Exactly.
Do the two of them eventually leave?
Yes.
Prior to them leaving, did Lindley mention to you anything about the spa?
She said to come up and get a massage at some point. We exchanged some numbers, and yeah, then they left.
Did you, after this date, actually go up there for a massage?
It was
go up there and go for a massage.
About 2 or 3 days later, yeah.
And in addition to going up for the massage, had you been thinking about Lindley's situation?
Yeah.
And what did you decide on did you discuss this with anybody at that point in time, or did you make some decisions on your own?
I just made a decision. Whenever I went up there to go get a massage, that 2 or 3 days later, whatever it was, I actually took her my gun.
When you say you took her your gun, which are you talking about the gun the two of you had previously shot together?
Correct.
That Springfield you mentioned?
Yes.
The one she could handle okay?
Right.
Why did you want to take that gun to her on that occasion?
From what she was describing to me, I thought she could use it in a case of, like, if she only had that option left, it'd be self-defense. Because she said she couldn't leave there, so.
So you go up there with the gun.
Yep.
Is the gun have ammo with it?
It does. It's loaded.
Okay. And so when you say it's loaded, it's got a magazine full of ammunition and the magazine's in it.
Correct.
Is a round chamber in it?
Yes.
So all you got to do is go bang.
You got it.
And when you get there, where is this gun at with respect to your person? Where is it at?
I had a pair of, I think it was cargo shorts on and had put them down in the side pocket of the cargo shorts.
It was concealed?
Yes.
And when you got there, tell us what happened that day.
She checked me in for, I guess Ashley, I think was at the front desk, checked me in for a massage. Took me back there. Lindley comes in there to do the massage or whatever, and then talk for a second. I give her that, explain to her that in the case of self-defense, this is, and for as long as you need it, you can have it. And she said at that point she didn't know if she could do something like that. Put it up on top of there. I did get a full body, or upper body massage rather, and that was pretty much that day.
So when you get there, make sure I understand. Ashley kind of checks you in like the bookkeeping thing.
Right.
You never paid, correct?
Correct.
This was on the house, so to speak.
Right.
You go back to the room, and you and Lindley are back there together for yourselves.
Right.
And you got an upper body massage.
Correct.
But putting aside all the legitimate, if you will,
objection are leading. This is the fourth or fifth question that's leading.
I got to hear the full question.
Putting aside the legitimate spa activity that we just talked about, tell us how you gave the gun how you handled handing off the gun to Lindley and what was discussed.
There's the question. You got an objection?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is it?
Leading.
Overruled. You wanted to repeat it, or you got that?
I think I got what he's asking.
Okay, answer it.
Basically, I handed it to her directly. She put it on the countertop inside the room. Is that what you're asking, I guess?
Yes. So you hand it to her, and she takes it and puts it on the counter.
Right.
And what do you tell her about why you brought that gun?
I told her that in the case of self-defense that nobody should have to go through what she had described to me.
And does she respond when you tell her that?
That she didn't think that she could do that. As in shoot somebody.
Well, and that's my question. Did she say, I didn't think I could do that, or did she say, I don't think I could shoot somebody?
She said, I don't think I could do that.
That was her exact phrase?
Correct.
Okay. And I forgot to ask you this, Mr. Humphrey. Back when her and Ashley were at your house, did they offer you anything to commit this murder?
No.
Okay. Now, when was the next time you wound up after this massage and handing off the gun, did you leave?
Yes.
When was the next time you had contact with Lindley?
I think it was probably somewhere in the ballpark of another 2 or 3 days later, I guess, something like that. And
can you tell the jury how you came into contact with this next occasion?
I was actually on my way back from Boomsville Casino. My alternator was going out on my car. I stopped, asked them if I could use her car to jump my car. I had cables. They basically just handed me the keys out of the door. I let it charge up for a little bit, and then I handed the keys back in the door to one of them. I don't remember which one it was.
So basically you used the spa as just a waypoint to try and charge your car.
Right.
And you didn't discuss with Lindley, did you discuss with Lindley any of this conspiracy to kill her husband?
No.
Did you leave the spa?
I did. I got on the highway, got to, I think it was somewhere around Discovery exit, realized I didn't latch my hood all the way and had to stop and turn my car off actually, and wasn't charged enough to restart it. So I think I texted Lindley at that point. I don't know, I may have called her, I don't remember what it was, and asked her if she could come and jump my car. She said they were out to lunch and doing something else, but that they would be right there.
And so this jury's not around from here. You headed south from Columbia to your home in Holtzside.
Correct.
And you said the Discovery exit. That's basically a halfway car situation?
There was Ashley, Lindley, and then one or two other girls in there that
You don't know who they are?
I don't really know who they are.
And do they get your car running again?
Yeah.
And again, at this point in time, do the two of you and Lindley, discuss this conspiracy in any way?
No.
When is the next time you have contact with Lindley?
There was probably another couple days after that, something like that.
And where is it that you have contact with him?
She came back out to my house.
And how was it that the two of you wound up meeting at your house?
She just showed up there.
Okay, this was again another uninvited
Drop-in.
visit.
Yeah.
And who was with her this time?
Nobody.
And how much time did you spend together on this occasion?
Half an hour.
And what did the two of you discuss on this occasion?
She came out there, said that her and Ben were fighting. She, in short, basically said, I guess if I don't have anybody that's going to do this, I need to be able to go to my house and get some clothes.
And when you say, was that sort of her exact phrase?
Something of that nature. 100% on word for word, if I don't have somebody to kill him or something,
Well, that's what I'm asking. When she said to do this, whatever phrase she uses, you understand that to mean what?
talking about killing Ben.
And did you again on this occasion tell her, what did you tell her about your involvement and willingness to kill her?
No, I'm not in on that.
And did during this occasion, did she offer you something in terms of if you would do so?
She said something, and again, word for word verbatim, but it was something of the effect of, I'll make it worth your time.
Okay. Never promised you a certain amount of money or a certain amount of property, just
No.
said, I would make it worth your time.
Right.
And you, in response to being offered her making it worth your time, what was your response?
Again, that I'm not partaking in that.
Did she ask you to do something else besides then kill her husband?
She asked me if I would go out there to her house to help her gather up like a bag of clothes so that she could go and stay at some point with her dad.
And did you agree to do that?
Yeah.
And knowing she had tried, or at least from her own words, she had tried to kill her husband once before, and now she has been asking you to help kill her, why would you help her in this manner?
I thought that was going to be a peaceful resolution.
And did it turn out to be a peaceful resolution?
That was not.
Let's talk about the day this was going to happen. I think we earlier said it was June 8th, correct?
Right.
What was supposed to be your time? What were you going to do? I mean, tell us what your understanding of what you were supposed to do that day to help her get this peaceful understanding.
She had asked me to come up there to the spa to meet her. I believe it was in the morning hours, 8, 9 o'clock, something like that. And then to go with her out there to her house. I had different car issues, was working on my car. I didn't get up there until I believe it was 2 or 3 in the afternoon, something like that.
And so basically you're supposed to be up there in the morning, but you're running late because of your car.
Correct.
Now, during that morning time, she was calling you, texting you. What
Right.
was she asking you?
If I was going to be able to still make it to Columbia.
And during some of these text messages, did you have some brief conversation through texting about drug use?
I believe so, yeah.
And can you tell the jury when they see these messages later so they understand them, what you recall saying?
I asked her if she wanted to come by for, I think I phrased it as a pep rally or something like that. It was referring to doing like a little bit of meth.
And was that trying to get her to relax and chill?
Yeah.
And so did she take you up on that offer that day?
No.
Now, you got up there in the afternoon, correct?
Right.
Did you go into this? How is it that you met up with Lindley, or she knew you were there?
I pulled up and she came right out.
I mean, you didn't honk her. She just shows and runs out.
Right.
When she comes out, how's she dressed?
A black leggings and a hoodie on.
And when you say the hoodie is on, is the head part of that actually obscuring her head, or is it down around her neck?
I don't remember being up, but
That's okay. But that's what she was wearing?
Yeah.
Did she have anything in her hands that you recall?
A bag, like a purse bag.
And did you see this gun that you previously left behind with her?
Not at that time.
Okay. And would this gun fit inside that purse?
For what I remember, the purse, maybe. I don't pay much attention to women's purses, honestly. I don't.
But you didn't see a gun printing on her side or?
No.
And what happened when she came out of the spa and saw you there in the car?
She asked me if I was still taking her up to her house.
And did you agree to do so?
Yeah.
And whose car did you take?
We ended up taking mine.
And did that surprise you?
Considering I had been spending the morning working on it, yeah, kind of.
Okay. And had you planned on driving your own vehicle out there?
No.
As a result, was there a problem in terms of fuel?
We had to stop at Lake of the Woods exit. I think it's a Phillips 66 there.
And again, these jurors aren't from around here, but if you're leaving Columbia and you're going to the Snake facility, the Lake of the Woods exit is where?
And you're just jumping on the highway and headed east out of town.
Basically, it's the last kind of exit when you leave Columbia to head east on 70.
Yeah, that's pretty much your last stop to get gas for a minute.
And when you discover you had this fuel issue, what is Lindley's reaction?
A little put out.
And did she say why?
Not then, no. She just said...
Did she ever tell you why she was upset about you not having fuel?
Did you ever tell me? No.
But she was a little put out that she had to stop.
Right.
Who paid for the fuel?
Her debit card.
Now, do you remember about how long the drive it was from leaving town here to get into Montgomery City? Or you weren't technically in Montgomery City, but to the Snake facility.
Somewhere in the 30-40 minute range, I'm guessing.
And what time of day do you recall actually her jumping in the car or leaving?
It would have been, like I said, I got up there around 2 or 3, and it would have been directly following that.
So whatever time you got up there between 2 and 3, you would have left.
Right.
Would a good time in terms of setting that down would be whatever time that gas was pumped?
I would say that's probably fairly accurate, yeah.
Because you would have left from the parking lot.
Bleeding.
I'll rephrase it. Would it have just taken you, how long would it have taken you from when she got in the car to drive to the gas station?
Less than 10 minutes.
And then the rest of this drive would have been on the rest of the way?
Correct.
Would it take you the same amount of time to return minus the stop at the gas station?
Yes.
And we're going to talk about what happened out there, but how long were you actually at the Snake facility, do you think, from the moment you stopped the car to the moment when you drove off?
A couple minutes.
Now, on the way out there, what conversation are the two of you having?
She had said that she was going to talk to him, get some of her stuff in order to stay there, like I said, at her dad's and stuff, and then from there it would probably work out whatever future action she was going to do, whether she was going to get a restraining order or file for divorce or that kind of.
And based on what she told you or asked of you, what was your intended role to be, so to speak?
Just to make sure he didn't flip out, basically.
And beyond that conversation, did you guys have small talk again, catching up, that kind of thing?
I'm sure we probably did, yeah.
Was there any more conversation about murdering him?
No.
When you get there, can you describe the building you pull up to?
It's a small grayish colored building off to the right-hand side of the driveway.
Just pretty nondescript.
It looked like a little shop or something to me when you first pull up to it, yeah.
And when you pull up there, are there any other cars around that you recall?
There was a reddish maroon colored Jeep, I believe.
Were there any people when you first pulled up there?
No.
Tell us what happens when you pull up and the car actually stops.
We we got out, walk around to the front of the car, and just as we get to the front of the car, from my right side, basically, sort of behind me, she walks up to me, and I feel something at my hip. I end up turning around and looking at it. It's the gun that I had given her.
And I had to ask you, have you ever met this Ben before?
Never.
Okay. So let me stop you. You get out of the car, she gets out of the car, and as you're next to the car, she presses something against your back-ish area.
Right.
And you look down and you see what?
And I can see the handle of the gun.
And when you see that, what is your reaction?
I shoved it back at her and asked her basically what the hell she was doing.
And while this is transpiring between the two of you, what happened, or who approaches or comes out?
Ben came out the door at the exact time all this was going down, or just as it was.
And do you know what he's doing, or can you see?
If I remember right, he had like some bag or box or something in his hand to throw away.
And when you're doing this with her, he's coming out. Tell us the next thing that is said or transpires between now the three of you there.
So she walks around, kind of circles behind me this way, and ends up telling him that I'm there to look at snakes, and that she had known me from or since high school or something to that effect. That I was a friend from high school or something like that, yeah.
So she tells him a lie.
Right.
About why you're out there.
Right.
Okay. And when she tells him this about hey, a friend from high school, see some snakes, what is his reaction? Or can you see what his reaction is?
He was just, I guess, momentarily hesitant as to, just randomly showing up there, but was like, fine, that's fine, come on in. You can take a look, see what all we got.
I mean, and where does he go then?
He goes back inside the doors there.
So he heads back into the building.
Correct.
What do the two of you do then?
I followed him in, actually. She had taken trash from him, I believe, and took it over to the dumpsters.
So you follow him in, and you think she's taking care of this trash stuff.
Right.
Tell us what happens after you get inside the building with Ben, and she's out there doing whatever.
He goes over to a sink that's on the left-hand side of the walkway through there or something, washes his hands, turns, and then goes down the main walkway there, talking about all the different types of snakes they have. I don't know nothing about snakes, so at the time that he's walking down through there, he gets towards basically the end of it there. She comes in the door, walks right on past me. I'm figuring she's going to go down there and talk to her husband, let him know whatever's going on.
Well, let me stop and just make sure. He's now at the other, you've come to the door, but he's now at the other, where you said it ended, the other end of the building.
Yeah, it's just a long stretch down through there.
Like a long, narrow hallway?
Full of totes of snakes, yep.
Okay. And where are you at in relationship to that doorway and where he's at, if you can approximate?
Just a couple steps in the door.
So you're just still by the door?
Yeah.
And by the time he washes his hand and gets down to the end, you mentioned Lindley is coming from where and going where?
From outside, came in the door and walked right past me.
And as she does this, does she say anything to you or Ben?
No.
Do you see anything in her hands?
At that time, no.
Well, and let me ask you this, were you paying attention or?
I really wasn't. I was looking at a rack full of a lot of snakes.
She goes by you and heads in the direction of Ben?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us what happens next.
So like I said, I was looking at a whole lot of snakes. And then I heard a shot come out, which inside there was extremely loud, so I kind of ducked a little bit, and I looked down through there, and she was at the end of the corridor, or whatever you want to call it, posed up like this with a gun.
And so you hear one shot and react to that.
Yeah.
And then look down to where they're at.
Right.
And when you look down there, how is Ben positioned if you can see him?
I couldn't see him at that point.
Where he was at?
Yeah, I actually couldn't see him.
So he at least wasn't standing upright.
Right.
Okay. You could see her though?
Right.
And you said she was, if you could stand up and show how she was positioned.
something kind of like this.
Okay. And then did you say you heard more shots?
As I turned and went out the door, I thought 2 to 3 more, and then another 1 or 2 after I was outside.
You weren't counting though, were you?
I was not.
But you heard, would it be fair to say you heard several more after that initial shot?
Right.
But you turned and ran out the door?
Correct.
Where did you go?
To my car.
Did you leave?
Not immediately. I pulled the door open and I'm looking back up there to kind of see what's going on. It was a few seconds. She comes out the door. I'm still standing there. She runs around to the passenger side of the car and starts screaming at me to drive, basically.
And when you see her coming out and headed to your car and telling you to drive, do you see anything in her hands on this occasion?
Being 100% honest, I don't remember if it was in her hands or not.
She gets in the car?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just leave her there?
I was waiting to see if anybody else was, like, if he was coming out of there.
She gets in the car and you drive.
Right.
Where do you go?
Back to the spa in Columbia.
And on the way back there, what is going on between you and Lindley in the car on this occasion?
She's I'm gonna call it freaking out. She was smoking cigarettes and kind of saying she was nauseous and different things to that effect. Drove back to Columbia though and stopped there at her spa and she jumps out.
Well, let me stop you there for a second. So she's smoking cigarettes, acting nauseous in the car.
Right.
Did you see the gun in the car during the drive?
No, not at that point. I didn't.
Okay. And her, when you had occasions to look at her, did you notice any blood on her hands, body, clothing at all?
No.
Did you have any blood on your body, clothing at all?
No.
After she got out, was there any blood in the car?
No.
You said she got out and went into the spa.
Right.
What did you do?
Probably a few seconds after, 10, 15 seconds afterwards, I don't know, a few minutes. I followed her in, and there was nobody in the front of the spa at all. I heard talking down their hallway, followed that, and they're in a room with I've tried to describe it a few different times. I don't know. It's a spa device of some sort that sprays water. I have no idea what it's called.
But nobody's there when you get in there.
Right.
And so you walk back to where you hear these voices.
Right.
And when you get back there, who's back there?
Ashley and Lindley.
And what are the two of them doing?
Spraying water.
Okay. And is one of them unclothed at this point in time?
Lindley.
Okay. So who's spraying water on who?
I think Ashley had it in her hand at that point and was spraying the water, yeah.
And what were the two, what conversation then occurred between the three of you, if any?
I opened up the door and I asked her, does she know what just happened? And she said something to the effect of, I already told her, or I'm telling her, or something like that. And so I told her I really didn't have anyone to talk to them ever again at this point, and I turned and I left. Well, actually, first, I guess, they asked me, would you take some of this? And they were referring to her pile of clothes on the ground, and that was whenever I told them, that I didn't ever need to talk to them again, and then I left.
And so they wanted you to get rid of the clothing, though, on your way out?
Correct.
Okay, and you refused?
Correct.
Do you leave?
Yeah.
Get in your car?
Yes.
Tell the jury about what happened on the way home in your car.
I get, I'm approximating it about halfway home. Stepped my brakes. I don't remember if it was to go around somebody or whatever it was. And out from underneath the passenger seat slides the gun, my gun.
And did that surprise you?
Yeah.
And why did it surprise you?
I didn't recognize that it was my gun until that moment.
And what did you do?
I was freaking out a little bit
Okay. Why is that?
because it's my gun.
And it had been, you believed it had just been used to do what?
To shoot somebody, yeah.
Now, what ultimately did you do with that gun after you got back and you weren't driving?
I put it in a case and put it back in the house.
When you say a
Or
case,
back in the house and then put it in a case, whichever way.
when you say the case it came in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Black case.
And when you got the gun, did the gun have any blood on it?
No, not that I recognize, no.
And if it had, would you have cleaned it off, you think?
Probably not. I don't know, probably. I don't know. I didn't ever see any that never came about, so.
Yeah, but when you saw it, it had been used in this murder, but it had no blood on it.
Correct.
Now, you said you put it in this case. Ultimately, this October, where was that gun at? Where did it wind up?
This October?
Yeah, when the cops went and got it.
That was over at my girlfriend's mom's house.
And where was it put?
There's a side attic access. You just pull two doors open and there's like a storage area right there.
And you told the officers when we spoke to you a month and a half ago, like we talked about earlier, that's where they could locate this gun at.
Right.
Now, prior to talking to them in October of this year, Devin Faust came out to you at some point in time after he had found out you had been in contact with Lumley during this time frame.
Right.
And I think he met with you at your probation office.
Yep.
And you lied to him and did not tell him all these details, did you?
No, I didn't.
Did you tell him anything about knowing anything about at all anybody wanting to murder Ben?
No.
And basically, you stuck with that lie on a couple other occasions, or another occasion, when they came to talk to you also.
Right.
Now, after you were arrested for these charges in January of this 2020, you did tell them some of these details, did you not?
Right.
Would it be fair to say that you told them, you left out, what important...
I left out me giving her the gun. I mean, straight up, that's it.
I mean, you essentially told them the same except for the part about you giving the gun and you having the gun.
Correct.
Michael, I'm going to show you, this is State's Exhibit 114, and ask, do you recognize what this black case is?
Yep.
What is it?
That's my gun case.
And I'm going to hold out up now. What am I holding up?
That's my gun.
That's what your gun is?
Yep.
Your Honor, I'd offer State's Exhibit 114.
114. Now, is that just the case and everything in it?
Yes.
Okay. Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
114 be admitted. Okay.
I don't have any other questions.
Cross-examination.
That's the gun that killed Ben Rennick?
Yes.
That gun that was in your possession?
Correct.
I want to be clear, Mr. Humphrey. You just testified, I think, that when you walked into the reptile facility, you were under the impression you were just going there to talk, for Lindley to talk to Ben about a divorce?
She didn't specify divorce. She said so that she could get some clothes from the house so she could go and stay at her dad's house until she was going to, figure out what her course was going to be.
Okay, so she was indicating that she was going to discuss with Ben a possible separation or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and I think the prosecutor asked you, and you said that after this incident, you and her never had any contact.
She texted me right after this stuff happened, and then there was one text that went out randomly, like,
okay,
I don't know, some weeks after that, I don't know, a couple weeks after that.
Okay, but you guys never got together and said, hey, we're going to say this, we're both going to say that I was going there to confront Ben about a divorce, right?
No.
Okay. Now, if somebody were to testify, for example, that you agreed to kill Ben within a day or two of Ashley Shaw and Lendley coming to your trailer, would that be false?
That would be false.
Huh. Now, you testified, I think, recently that you were using methamphetamines around this time. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, you were using methamphetamines the day of 6/8, correct?
I would say that's, yeah.
Okay. For the benefit of the jury, can you explain what methamphetamines are?
It's a drug.
Okay, what do you feel like when you're on methamphetamine?
It's different for different people, but mainly just gives you energy.
Okay, is it... And where do you get your methamphetamine from?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. It's irrelevant to these proceedings.
Your Honor, I think it goes to credibility. If he's a criminal and he's selling methamphetamine, I think it goes to his credibility.
Overruled.
Where do you get your methamphetamine from, Michael?
Various places.
Okay. And you sell methamphetamine?
No, not like I have before, but when it's the same as like one of your friends going to your house and grabbing beer out of your fridge and leaving money on your table.
Okay, but in your case, you go to your friend's house and you drop off meth.
No.
Okay.
I've had friends come over and ask me if I had some, and then we exchange like that, but that's...
So you give your friends meth?
Yes.
Like Tom Sidebottom?
No.
And like Henry Padelford? Butch?
Yes. Butch I have before, yes.
And you and Butch were using methamphetamines around this time?
Right.
Okay, and you offered Lendley Rennick methamphetamines that day too, right?
Correct.
And she turned you
Turned
down?
it down, that's correct.
And she didn't even know what you were talking about, right?
Huh?
She didn't know what a pep rally was, right?
I thought she would have known, maybe she didn't, I don't know.
Okay. Now, you were convicted of a felony, right? Prior to this incident?
The one I was talking about earlier in 2012.
Yes, well, whichever one. You're a felon. You were a felon in 2017.
I had one drug charge, yes.
Was it a felony?
Yes.
That makes you a felon,
Correct.
doesn't it? Okay.
Absolutely.
And you can't have a gun when you're a felon, right?
You're not supposed to possess a gun, that's correct.
Okay. You're not supposed to. That would be a yes, wouldn't it?
I had purchased a gun before I was a felon.
It's illegal for you to have a gun when you're a felon.
Correct.
But you had a gun anyway.
Right.
And you brought a gun to the spa that day.
Correct.
And you brought a gun to the spa that day. You claim, at the same time that you claim, you were under the impression she was just going there to talk to Ben.
That's not the same day.
Then Devin Faust comes and talks to you on July 17th of 2017, correct?
Okay. I don't know the exact dates.
He talked to you in somebody's office, I think?
At a probation office, yeah.
Okay. And one more, Your Honor. Did you tell Corporal Faust that you slingshot a cat when he talked to you?
I don't recall that. It's possible.
Okay. Do you recall saying that, Corporal Faust?
Yes, I do.
Why do you slingshot cats?
They had a bunch of strays that were out in that neighborhood.
Okay, what does slingshotting a cat involve?
What is it? What?
What does it involve?
A slingshot.
Okay, to the cat, right?
Right.
All right. And on 7/17, you don't tell Devin Faust anything that you just told this jury right now, correct?
Correct.
You tell him, I think, that you weren't even at the spot on 6/8, correct?
I don't remember what I told him.
Well, you certainly never told him that you went to the snake facility.
That's correct.
Okay, that was a lie.
That's correct.
Okay, and you also told him on that day, I think, that you had given up drugs too, right? For the sake of your son?
I don't even have a son.
Or your child that's in Texas?
I have 2 daughters, yes.
Okay, is one of them in Texas?
No, they both live in Jeff City now.
Okay, well, did you tell Devin Faust that you quit drugs?
I had cut off doing drugs at that time, yeah.
Okay. But you didn't tell him you went to the reptile facility.
That's correct.
Then on 10/18, the day after your door was kicked in by the SWAT team looking for drugs, Devin Faust visited you again.
Correct.
And they told you, I think, that they were trying to hammer Len Lee. Is that correct?
Right.
And they wanted to hammer Len Lee, and so they talked to the Callaway County prosecutor, and they said that if you helped them and you weren't the trigger puller, then you would get probation. Is that correct?
They said that we can talk to something to the effect of we can talk to a prosecutor and sometimes those people get probation or something like that, yeah.
Didn't they tell you they talked to the Callaway County prosecutor and they were going to quash or get your drug charges that your door was just kicked in for dismissed?
I don't recall that exactly, no.
But they did tell you that they were trying to hammer Len Lee.
Correct.
And you still didn't tell him at that point that you were just going there to talk to Ben?
No.
Then you get arrested on 1/16 of 2020, correct?
Correct.
And you tell the police that Len Lee threw the gun out the window. Is that correct?
I also told him I didn't know where it was at that point either because, like we were just talking about, felon with a firearm, I was not.
So those were lies?
Correct.
And you were charged with murder.
Right.
And you had remembered that the police were trying to hammer Len Lee. You remembered that conversation, right? At that when you were arrested.
Was it at the forefront of my mind? No.
Well, you told the police on 1/16, I think you told Trooper Schaefer back there that Len Lee did this, right? All by herself on 1/16. You said you were going in there to talk to him, and Len Lee did this all by herself. Isn't that what you said on 1/16?
I had said that I drove her out there.
You didn't say that Len Lee showed you a gun and then you and her walked into the snake facility and she shot Ben all by herself? You never told the police that on 1/16?
I told her that, yeah.
You did tell them that?
Yeah.
And that was consistent. You told them that because that was most likely to be believed because you knew the police suspected Len Lee had done this and you were trying to feed them a story that you thought that they would believe because you had talked to them on 1/16 and they had told you that they thought Len Lee did this. That's why you told the police that. Correct?
I told them that's because that's what happened.
You didn't tell the police that. You didn't tell the police that. Well, if you were innocent, Michael, if you were innocent of this, if you were just an innocent bystander, why didn't you tell the police that why didn't you tell Devin Faust that on July of 2017?
I was on probation. And again with the firearm. So what am I going to do? To hand them, here you go, here's a gun that somebody just shot and probably killed somebody with. I'm on probation. It's registered to me, by the way.
You just had a trial, correct?
Yeah.
A trial for what?
Murder.
And what were you convicted of?
Murder.
Did you testify in that trial?
No, I didn't.
Did your attorneys call one witness on your behalf in that trial?
No.
Did you tell that jury anything that you've just told this jury today at your own trial?
They seen interviews through videotape.
After your trial, Mr. Zollner or some of the highway patrol officers, they come and they approach your attorneys and they offer you a proffer agreement, right?
I believe that's what it's called, yeah.
Okay, so you're testifying here today is giving you a benefit, correct?
Right.
And tell the jury what that benefit is.
It's reduced to second degree, and I'll still be serving a life sentence, so.
But you're eligible for parole, right?
Hopefully will not die in there.
Does that proffer agreement, Michael, have anything to do with your testimony here today and what you're saying?
I mean, no, like, does it affect what I'm saying? No. It's still the same story. The only thing that's changed throughout since I've been arrested is just that I actually went ahead and told them that I gave her the gun.
The same story that you never told anybody, even when they were offering you preferential treatment.
Yeah.
Peter Reed-Wright.
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you so much. You can go with the man there. Call your next witness.
Caitlin Boyles.